all you sinners and saints. It's Pastor Tom coming at you. I've been thinking today about the relationship that exists between the special and the commonplace. You see, in general, the special gets remembered while the common often gets ignored. Now, whether it's cars or people, that seems to hold true for everything. Right along with me just to see what I mean. The first car I ever owned was a 1949 Mercury. It was a black four-door that was given to me by an Air Force friend that I was serving with at Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi. You see, he'd graduated from electronics school there and was shipping overseas. He didn't have enough money to drive his car to his parents' home in Iowa, and I didn't have enough money to help him get there either. So he gave me the car. I parked it at a gas station right outside the base gate. I drove it twice, once to go to New Orleans, and once to take it to another airman I'd given it to. It's now a classic. I regret leaving that car behind. It was and still is an elite car. It was a Mercury. Afterward, I ended up with a 53 Ford sedan. It wasn't elite. It was just four wheels that rolled. I tell you this to point out character. The character of cars. They have character just like people do. If we look back in the Bible to the time after Jesus rose from the dead, we can see that people differ quite a bit in character. But we don't dare to judge. You see, after he rose from the grave, according to Luke, Jesus first appeared to Simon Peter, then he appeared alongside two men that were on the road to Emmaus. It's those two that I remember. They remind me a little bit of that Mercury and that Ford. For sure, there was Clopas. He was the husband, apparently, of one of the women named Mary who stood at the cross when Jesus was crucified. There was also another person who was not named by St. Luke. Now, as they walked along, they were talking about the death of Jesus. When our Lord caught up with them and joined their discussion, they told him what had happened. They told him that they had been disappointed. Finally, Jesus taught them the meaning of his crucifixion and reminded them of the prophecies that predicted his rising from the dead. Now, the brains couldn't handle it. It's a bit like flathead engines that were planted in that old Mercury and Ford. If one thermostat of the two in that old dependable V8 engine stuck, the engine would overheat on just one side, and the engine block would often crack. That's what it must have been like for those two men. It took a very special moment for them to realize who it was that talked to them. After they'd invited Jesus to have supper with them, and he broke the bread offered up, then, only then, they knew him. It took a holy meal for them to see. I think that often we need to partake of that holy meal in church for us to recognize him as well. Now, we still don't know who the other person was who saw Jesus on that road. We know it wasn't any of his disciples because they were all hiding like the second gear of a automatic transmission. We also know that it wasn't Clopas' wife because it generally says it's a man. The other man is as anonymous as any everyday disciple who has been waiting for Jesus' second coming, and that day doesn't seem possible. Well, I think that's the key that gets our engine started here. I think that very much like Blessed John, who wrote the fourth gospel and talked about the beloved disciple, and never names him. Our author here, St. Luke. Blessed Luke didn't tell us about the identity of this man because that person is each of us. You see, I think each one of us as individuals wake up on any given morning to find that Jesus hasn't been yet made the ruler of our world. A world where some folks like cars are named after blazing planets and others must just work hard to afford a Ford. For the sake of those unnamed souls, of whom there are many, I say to you that I pray that Jesus becomes known to you in the sharing of a holy meal and the breaking of the bread. Thanks be to God. Amen.
And right back down the other side. How far will you go? With no guarantee, you know. Open your eyes. guarantee of anything.